From the roundtable at legendary Uncle's Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for all you employers, employees, and of course you independent contractors. My name is Steve Appel, and I'll be your host for the next hour with some talk, news, and hopefully some answers about Work Comp Matters. Thanks for being part of the show, and if you can break away from your Work Comp Matters, feel free to give us a call and clue us in with your questions, comments, and or concerns. The phone number worldwide, 818-357-4120. You can be old school, send a fax, 818-475-1437. You can send me an email, wcexaminer@aol.com. With me in studio, my right-hand man, Dr. Mike Zyma, my protege, attorney Robert Ozeron, vocational rehabilitation expert Laura Wilson, engineering the show from Uncle Studios, Scott Walton, and of course, back at Work Comp Central, making sure the whole damn thing goes right, is Mr. Jake Paris. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. Yeah, that's right. We are full strength here with Laura Wilson. We also have a live audience. We're going to get to the audience in the moment, but breaking, hot off the press, is Senate Bill 10 having to do with California being the first state in the nation to revoke bail. And I am so fortunate because a gentleman, an attorney that I've known, I'm in his Facebook groups, and he is so kind enough every week to post the podcast, is attorney Lou Shapiro. Lou, can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, and happy to be here with you.
Thank you very much. For those of you that don't know, Lou is a former attorney,
public defender.
A public defender. He is now a specialist in criminal law and owns his own criminal law defense firm. And he was kind enough to come on in and talk about Senate Bill 10. Lou, if you can take a minute or two, please talk about what the status of bail was for the history of bail, how bail has now changed because of Senate Bill 10, and of course, your opinion.
Sure, this is a monumental change. It eradicates the entire monetary bail system. So under the old structure and the current structure, which will last through October 2019, when somebody gets arrested by the police, they are taken to the local police station, and the police there set a certain bail amount based on the charge that they think is going to be filed by the district attorney's office or city attorney's office against the arrestee. So let's say it's $50,000 for a battery-type case. The person who is arrested posts 10% on that, which is $5,000. If they don't have the entire $5,000, that's okay because they can provide to the bail bondsman a portion of that and pay the remainder in payments. They are then set free. They are given a court date about 30 days out, at which time it gives them time to hire a lawyer, freshen up, reflect, prepare, and put their best foot forward at their first court date, which we all know is the arraignment. Under the new system, that same person who is arrested for battery will no longer be able to bail out and hire their lawyer. What's going to happen is this person will be spending as much time as necessary over the weekend until court hours open, will be brought to court, unkept, unshaven, sleep-deprived, who knows what kind of food the person ate. This will be their first interaction in court. This is their first impression with the judge or prosecutor. Their family, if the family's able to, and now the person is going to have to suffer the embarrassment of letting their family know they got arrested, if they didn't plan on it, the family maybe will have hired a lawyer for the arraignment. Now, at the arraignment, under this new law, the judge has to make an all-or-nothing decision. And feel free to interrupt me at any time. But the judge's decision is, am I going to let this person out or not through the pendency of the proceedings? So if it's a crime of battery, the judge will look at the charge and then get a report from this quasi-probation office that's going to have to be set up. Even though the person's not yet on probation, there's going to be a department that will make a recommendation to the judge if the person is a low-risk, medium-risk, or high-risk offender.
Lou, do you know what
person should be
criterion
let
they're
go.
going to use, Lou?
So based on that, sorry, is there
Yeah. Mike, you can't hear him. I'll do it. Mike asked if you knew what criteria they were going to use, and my understanding, Lou, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the criteria is set by the California Judicial Council, which will be using, quote, risk assessment algorithms. Please let me know if that's true and comment.
That's true. And the problem is, what does that mean?
Gosh, yeah, exactly.
You know, it's very ambiguous. It puts a huge amount of authority and power in their hands over everyone else's liberty.
Additionally, Lou, there's word out today that this is going to put about 7,000 people out of work, including, of course, the bail bonds. And obviously, the California Bail Bonds Agents Association has come out against that.
Well, naturally, they come out against it. And my frustration with the system, while I have very good friends who I feel for emotionally, right, that their businesses are lost, my opposition to this law has nothing to do with my sentiment or feelings for them losing their livelihood over this bill.
Yeah, when Mike heard that you were against it, but you were a defense attorney, he was shocked. Please tell us why.
Well, okay, here's why. Because the governor is branding this new law as now the rich and the poor will be treated equal, right? But what he's really saying is that it's like saying, we're going to solve homelessness this way. We're going to evict everybody from their house, and then nobody will be considered homeless anymore. Everyone's the same. We're going to evict everybody's going to suffer because of a minority population, when in fact there is a better way to help the minority population than the way that they are presenting in this law.
I got a couple questions for Lou here on this one.
Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Lou, it's Robert. So, Lou, I got a question for you. Do you think our jails could even handle this? Because if everyone's going to get pulled, let's say the majority of people are poor who get arrested, and they can't afford the lawyer to show up there on time at arraignment. So the judge has to make an all-or-nothing call. He doesn't want to make a call where someone's going to get killed on his watch, so they're probably going to start pulling people, right? As the first judge who makes a mistake, the rest won't. And now, could our jails even handle this, Lou?
Lou, the question is, can our jails handle this?
Right. I heard the question loud and clear. It's a very good question, and the answer is probably not. That I think law enforcement is just baffled by this, and they're thinking, what are we going to do? Because exactly, judges are going to be very reluctant to release anybody charged with a violent offense, concerned that they're going to lose their job the next day if this person gets out and reoffends. See, under the old law, right, they would set a bail per schedule, and if the person gets out and does something wrong, the judge could say, hey, I set bail per schedule. The person bailed out and did X, Y, Z. That's not on me. But now it's all on the judge. Am I going to let him out or not? And that's going to cause a big problem in the jail system.
Laura's got a question for you. Go ahead.
Hi, Lou. Wouldn't this affect, as far as police corruption? Let's say a person's going to go ahead, a person does something, they're going to get arrested. Well, in order not to go to jail, aren't they going to most likely, instead of having to get a lawyer, aren't they going to maybe try to pay off the police?
The question is, if you didn't hear it, is corruption going to be affected by this police corruption?
Corruption on whose part?
Whose part?
Corruption on the policeman's part.
On the policeman's part.
Okay, so what motive would the police, where's the motive for corruption based on the new law? Give me a little bit more on the question.
You know what? Actually, it's a good question, but I think it's going to take a little more time than we have available right now, but we can certainly revisit it another time. I've got one last one for you, and then unfortunately, we're going to have to go. Is there any constitutionality issue with this? I mean, we're the first state in the union to eliminate bail. Could this be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, or is it constitutional? Does every state in the union have the ability to set up their own criminal justice system?
Look, this whole law is unprecedented. Everyone is taken by surprise on it. The ACLU has indicated that they are going to do whatever they can to try and defeat this from a constitutional angle. Dean Erwin Chemerinsky, a constitutional scholar, has come out against this publicly. So I would be very surprised if I did not see some major constitutional challenges being posed to this law once it starts being implemented.
Lou Shapiro, attorney, thank you very much.
Last question, boss.
Go ahead.
Lou, last question. What are the odds that this actually gets implemented? What do you think?
I think that something's going to happen between now and October 2019, which is going to either drastically change the way this law is written or eradicate it altogether. Because the way it stands now, it's just complete chaos, and it really should not be put into play.
Lou, please give the listeners, if you want, your email, your fax, your phone number, your office address, so they can contact you if you want.
Sure. I'm at loushapiro.com. All my info is there. Happy to contact me.
Lou, thank you very much. And once again, thanks for coming on Work Comp Matters and promoting the podcast. You take care, buddy.
My pleasure.
And what can I say? There goes Lou Shapiro.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. We've got more stories on bail, but our second news story of the night has to do with Mr. John McCain, and it's really not a news story. We wrote up a whole bio on John McCain, and of course he passed away. He's in state. He's getting more accolades than, quite frankly, any politician that I've seen before. Well-deserved. Let me just put it out there. The only thing I ever had against John McCain is that he picked Sarah Palin as a presidential running mate.
That'll do it.
And let me also state for the record, the worst mistake that President Donald Trump ever did was try and argue that McCain is not a hero, because now that he's passed away and he's getting all these accolades, he's keeping his mouth shut, which is probably the smartest thing he's ever done. Because if he opens his mouth to say anything about John McCain, one way or the other, it's going to come back to haunt him.
Well, he ordered flags half-staff, and then
for one
he
day?
sent a tweet out saying, it's a big loss.
I just still can't believe he had the flag raised, and then now all of a sudden says.
Well, John McCain wasn't a president. I mean, he's getting a lot of accolades nationally. I know he's a national hero for what he did in Vietnam, but this is short of presidential, right? This is like a lot of accolades.
Reagan was the last time I saw something like this.
Yeah, and he's presidential.
For those of you that don't know, McCain was in a POW, prisoner of war camp, for 5.5 years before he was released. When his captors found out who he was, I think his father was a colonel or an admiral. They offered to let him go, and he said, no, not until you let my men go. And he stayed in the POW camp until his men were released. I don't care what friggin' Donald Trump says. To me, that is a hero.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That decision,
he was a war hero.
That decision, not very rational, though, right? When you're sitting there just saying it.
Well,
out loud.
I've never been in a POW camp, my boy. Have you?
No. Well, I would assume the first chance you can get to exit, you would take it.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, you would assume the first chance you get to leave, you would take it. So very interesting.
Well, his time, he's had some incredible comments about his time in the Hanoi Hilton and how they recreated and how they laughed. They had senses of humor when they weren't being tortured, of course. But it was extraordinary, the stuff he had to say about the Hanoi Hilton.
But I do want to point out, because we're talking about McCain, and he did have a lot of policy issues, towards the end of his life here that he disagreed with Trump on. And people are now kind of canonizing his opinion, right? Like, if he said something, that must be the right way to go on everything. What did he say on healthcare? What did he say on guns? There you go. That's perfect then. It must be, right? Because he's a hero. So I just don't want to conflate somebody who's, service to the country and bravery is honorable versus political opinions, which are based on rational argument and just how things are supposed to work out, trial and error a lot of times, so you can't predict the future. I'm sorry to say. And I, love Mr. McCain, or, the late John McCain, great guy. But still, we should probably not agree 100% with what he says.
Absolutely, and that's the good thing
said.
about diverse opinions. Very rarely are you going to get a unanimous verdict among four people, but at least you can exchange your ideas in a reasonably professional and adult manner, and in the end, you shake hands and you come back again next week. My name is Steve Appel. You're listening to Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by A1 Law. If you want the #1 computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system on the planet, you give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee, $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. And now here's a little something from ABC Rugs. ABC Rugs has been in the business of manufacturing and direct importation and exportation of Persian and Oriental rugs for more than 39 years. ABC Rugs is a direct importer and wholesaler of antique, Moroccan, Oriental, and Persian rugs. Established in 1978, ABC Rugs is definitely old school. 323-897-5444. That's ABC Rugs. 323-897-5444. And that's paying our bills. And here we are back again on Work Comp Matters. Talking about vocational rehabilitation extraordinaire Laura Wilson. Your show, the interview that I did with you, now has 99 hits on YouTube. I don't know how many on the others because I don't have the time or the wherewithal, but you are without a doubt the most listened to show of this year on Work Comp Matters, and I have to thank Laura Wilson very much. There you go.
And thank you for the opportunity.
No, the pleasure is mine. And, for those of you that don't know, Laura is a member of WOW, and so I wanted to bring on someone on the show who is also a member of WOW, even though you guys, to the best of my knowledge, don't know each other. Laura, this is defense attorney Ann Bobchek. Hi, Ann. Can you hear us okay?
Hi, Ann.
Hey, all. Congratulations, Laura. That's awesome with the podcast.
Thank you.
You know, one of the reasons, Ann, and I kind of touched on this, but not really, and Laura doesn't know this, but when I interviewed Laura a month ago, I was really ready to grind her about WOW and the fact that WOW is not letting Steve Appel be an honorary member. But I spoke to you about it, Ann. And Ann basically defended WOW and said, Steve, let us have our group, or else you're going to do everything in your power to essentially eviscerate me. In so many words, right, Ann?
Oh, I think I use different words being an attorney.
You definitely use different words. There's no question about it. But it was because of Ann's comment to me, basically, Steve, we need this. Just let it go. And so I let it go. And so now I celebrate WOW. WOW has like 475 members. They've been on the group for like 2 months, and I think they're really doing wonderful things. Now, Laura doesn't like to talk as much controversy as you're willing to do, Ann, and I don't want you to violate your policy. But do you think there's any chance, if not now, maybe by the end of the year, that I could become an honorary member of WOW?
I don't think a sexual transformation surgery would happen that quickly, Steve.
Oh, I see. So I have to lose some of my physical body parts before I can become a member of WOW. Is that right?
I think the official term is reconstructed, but yeah.
All right.
Frankly, I'm sorry. I've known you've done other programs about women, about mansplaining, particularly when the Me Too movement first started. I think there's still, in the workers' compensation system, I don't think women are treated the same as males, and there's no reason for it. So having a forum where women can work together within this community, I think it's something that was a long time coming.
Ann, I really couldn't agree with you more. I think the fact that WOW apparently is set up where women can come and not fear of being prejudiced against by men or discriminated against by men, I think women need that space, and I celebrate that. Unfortunately, I'm just a little butthurt that I can't become like an honorary member, and I'm just expressing my feelings.
Well, I can understand that. You are very sensitive, or what I like to call a snag, a sensitive New Age guy.
Oh, I like that. I've never heard that before.
Smag?
Wow.
But seriously, Steve, back off. Let us have our space. It's brand new. You know, who knows what the future will bring. But, you know, we're not keeping you from advertising. We're just like, we need a female-friendly space.
And
let's have it. Let's have it.
And I totally agree. And I am just pleased that my podcast, or at least when I have a woman guest on the show, is being allowed to be promoted through WOW. I have never attempted to promote the show without a female guest, but Laura doesn't know this. I didn't tell her, but it's one of the reasons why I'm so much appreciate her coming on to the round table is now I have my own little entrance to WOW, even if I can't be an honorary member. And now I have two of you times two.
Oh, Steve, you just need to let it go. Let it go.
Okay, well, I've been holding on to it for this long, so I think it's about time that I let it go. And Ann, it's mostly because of you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And
well, you know we've been friends a very long time.
We have friends, and I've promised you many times, and I've flaked on my promise. Well, actually, I have promised that when I come up to Northern California, we're going to have dinner together. I just haven't come up there, but I've made these promises. So I guarantee you, when I come up to Northern California, you and I are going to do some appetizers or some dinner or something like that.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
And thank you very much for coming on to Work Comp Matters. I totally appreciate it.
Anytime. I'd be happy to be here.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
And there goes workers' compensation defense attorney Ann Bobcheck.
So,
what
Bob,
can I tell you?
I got a question. So you feel a little excluded from a women's-only club, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I don't personally have an opinion on it. I'm just wondering, would a men's-only club be okay too, or is that not all right? I don't even know if there are any in existence. I'm not part of any clubs personally.
My
either men, women, or mixed.
My club is Work Comp Matters. This is my club. This is my therapy.
I don't think I would mind, or I don't think I do mind a women's only club. I get it, but I would disagree with it. It's to stay away from the discrimination of men. I mean, come on now. If anyone has been harsh to women that I've seen in my life, it's other women. That's just personally from the experiences I've had.
Robert,
maybe others are different, but I don't think that's the right reason to have a women's only club. There's probably more positive reasons, right?
Robert, your experience with women has been considerably different ever since I've known you. I remember when we first talked about the Me Too movement, and we were talking about Harvey Weinstein, and you regularly said that, this is other people, this is not you, this is not the people you're associated with, and I understand that you obviously have not been exposed to as much female harassment as myself or other people have.
Well, I think you mean I haven't done as much harassing, because that's my lack of exposure to it.
So you have seen it?
Well, no. I mean,
that's my whole point.
I really, but I haven't seen it in the workers' comp field either, as Ann said. I mean, I've been in the courthouse every day.
No, Ann said she has experienced it and seen it.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying I have the same, hopefully a similar two set of eyes, and I'm in court every day, and I don't think I've seen anything inappropriate.
Well, I'll tell you what, the perfect one to go to, and Laura, I know you want to say something else, but is our vocational rehabilitation expert. Plain and simple. When you rehab injured workers, and I know traditionally injured workers are more men than women, but you know what people are paid. You know what jobs out there are paying. Do the jobs out there generally pay more for men than they do for women?
Yes, they do.
And that's not only workers' comp, but that's a broad spectrum of jobs.
Broad spectrum.
There is still an unfair pay grade. Yeah, now I know the other side of the coin is that, women take more time off, women get sick more, women get pregnant.
Well,
so
Boss, I think Well, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I just think you're conflating wages, annual wages, with hourly rates. That's a problem a lot with this wage gap argument, which, by the way, in my opinion, doesn't exist. But we can talk about that, a separate issue, because there's a lot of data behind it, right? But go for it,
Yeah,
Laura.
I mean, even when it comes to getting certain positions, when they're higher ranking positions, if you're for some reason there's also a male that's applying for that same position, the female has to show a lot more as far as we have to show the strengths. We have to be able to put that whole sensitive side aside from us. We have to be able to say, okay, we understand, but we're going to, like, as a female, yeah, there's this whole thing with families that you may have to have more time off.
I was just also going to say, you also have to say, look, I have kids, but I've got my child care covered. I'm not going to be leaving the work in the middle of the day to go take care of my kids, pick my kids up from school, and I am dedicated to the job.
Right. And there's going to be times when, as a female, I mean, and I understand there are times when there are single men that are single fathers where a woman may have to say, I gotta up and go. I have a child that's home. I have a child that's being called in sick. I have doctor appointments, school meetings, and other matters.
Well, I was talking more about specifically the argument that men make or women make 75 cents or 80 cents on the dollar that men make, that argument, right? There's always that argument out there.
Yes.
That's more of like a slogan that's not true.
Well, I think it is true.
No, it's not. Because if that was true, all businesses that would stock their cabinets with women, right? They would save 20% on their wages, right? That's not true. Okay? The fact that we're talking about annual wages. Men work longer hours, right? They're more dedicated to their jobs on average than women.
Well, really,
that's different than the hourly wage that they get paid for the same job.
Robert,
you guys are mixing two things.
Really? Well, according to who or what stats do you know that women work longer hours? Men work longer hours. How do you know
I didn't
this?
pull up like the National Labor Relations Board stats here, but I can tell you it's true. Okay, this argument has been had many times with people smarter than all of us, right? And each time, I remember this was on Rachel Maddow, and they brought out an economist, and he was trying to promote her. You know, he was saying, good job, I really appreciate it, but you're misunderstanding economics right now.
Well,
because all of these companies would hire nothing but women if this were true, and they would save their percentages, right? It doesn't work that way.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about other women, but I know that I put in a lot of time.
Yes,
for
and
my
you look how
business.
successful you are.
Right, exactly.
But
But I
then
have
again-
put the time and the
It's
energy
your-
So
to it.
if anything, aren't you an example of
You
what
gotta
I'm
work,
saying?
but you got to
Yeah.
work hard, play hard. you got to work hard.
you own your own business.
Yes, I do.
which is completely different than being an employee.
Correct.
I'm sure that women that own their own businesses put in more hours, more time, because
you don't
it's
get
their
to owning
shingle.
your own business without putting in the hours first. Okay, that's like putting the cart before the horse. It's just not true. Laura, to get her own business, I have no doubt she put in many hours before she had her own.
Yes, I
right?
did. I
Okay.
mean, I worked with Hayashi and Associates for
So-
many years.
Yeah, you just work hard and eventually it pays off, hopefully to yourself. Okay, but it's a.
But you have to have that initiative and that motivation.
Yeah, so she has
to do
that
so.
drive. But on average, just saying men work longer hours per year, I think that's a true stat. I don't think I'm being misleading in saying that. And we're talking about, again, wages annually, right? The gross wages, how many hours you work versus the amount you get paid per hour. That's totally different than, if you hire two people at the same position and a woman is making 80 cents on the dollar that the man is making at the initiation of the job, right? If you found that, there'd be lawyers all over that. I would refer that case out, right? I would see that case. I would refer it. It's just not happening out there. The wages are all set, right? And the hours are all given to the employees freely. Everybody works out at their own will, at their own volition. I have employees too, and now this is an anecdote, but in my employment history, in my brief employment history, the men have been much more dedicated than the women. So far, okay? I've had, a dozen employees, okay, come and go, some more steady than others. And this is my brief understanding of it. And it's a lot to do with perhaps a man-woman dynamic that I can't really put a finger on. I can't really say what it is, but there's just more freedom, perhaps.
It could also
that I
be
give to
because
the-
they have a family they have to support.
Well, I'm dealing with women who don't even have families in my office, but there's a sense that perhaps they need more freedom.
Well, I'm saying maybe the men put in more hours, or maybe the men, because they have a family they had to support as well.
Well, actually, that is true. One,
Right.
yes, for some,
It could
in
be
my
that
office,
as
yes,
well.
they're the breadwinner, definitely. So there is different obligations that come with, the certain roles and the sexes that fall generally in society, not specifically, right? You can talk to any individual person, and they could be the female breadwinner, and the guy could be stay at home. You never know, right? We start talking generalities, but when we're looking at a national, average of wages, hourly men and women are roughly the same. Upon initiation of job, it changes the longer they're at the job, because men put more hours in, their wages will increase at a higher rate. So then it won't be even for someone who have similar level of experience. You'll look 5 years in, and someone will have different wages, and you'll say, well, the man's making more. Why would he do that? Well, if you look at their work history, there's a good chance that man put 5 to 4 ratio hours to the woman. It's just how it is, and depends on their age group too, right? This is all stats you can look up online, right? Young men 25 to 35, you can be sure they're going to be putting in a lot of hours. That's just how it breaks down, right? And you can look at these number of hours worked per week on average across the nation, and you can see that there's a lot of opportunity, first of all, for ladies like Laura, who are smart and ambitious. They can do whatever they want, and that's what I love about America. Anybody can do whatever you want, whatever your sex or whatever you come from. But just in general, I'm talking about men seem to work a lot longer, right? And that's the wage gap myth right there.
And go ahead, Laura.
Well, Steve, I know you're a little, I guess you could say your feathers are a little ruffled because of the whole not being able to be a WOW member.
Yeah, I said butt hurt, but go ahead.
Okay. However, you are more than welcome, and I'm saying this as the president of Latino Comp, the first non-attorney president of Latino Comp. It's a statewide organization, one of the largest, that's made up of applicant attorneys, defense attorneys, judges, vendors, doctors, and many other people.
And Mike and I get your mailers all the time.
Yes, and you are more than welcome to become a member. You're more than welcome to show up and do a presentation, attend any of our events. And one of the most exciting events that's coming up is on September 15th at the Los Angeles Millennium Biltmore, where we are honoring Judge Watkins. And we would love to see you there.
Oh, that's great.
It's a nice
Thank
hotel,
you very
boss.
much. Yeah.
And it's going to be a beautiful event, just like it's been a beautiful event for years.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. You're listening to WorkCom Matters. My name is Steve Appel. We're brought to you by A1 Law, Santa Monica Tickets, and ABC Rugs. It's time for a musical break, and we will be back after the Cherry Blue Storms.
How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? Now that you know who you are, what do you want to be? And have you traveled very far? Far as the eye can see. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? How often have you been there? Often enough to know. What did you see when you were there? Nothing that doesn't show. Baby, you're a rich man. Man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. Natural inside too. What a thing to do. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people?
Glenn Lachlan and the Cherry Blue Storms on Work Comp Matters. My name is Steve Appel. We're brought to you by A1 Law, Santa Monica Tickets, and ABC Rugs. Well, let's see. He's my right-hand man, my chief of staff. He keeps me in check and hopefully out of trouble at least 90% of the time with the next news story, Dr. Michael Zima.
Thank you. California is the first state in the U.S., I don't know about the world, but the first state in the U.S. to abolish the cash bail system. Local courts have been ordered to create a risk-based system to decide who may get out of jail before trial. Governor Jerry Brown signed Senate Bill 10 yesterday and called it a major step towards fairness. The bill's author, Senator Bob Hertzberg, Los Angeles Democrat, describes the basic philosophy as follows, quote, "The essence of this measure is we're going to look at people as people," end quote. Facing a threat to its continued existence, the California bail industry will attempt to block the new law by asking voters to overturn the plan. Bail industry groups on Wednesday launched a referendum drive against Senate Bill 10 a day after Governor Jerry Brown signed the sweeping legislation. The law is set to take effect in October of 2019.
California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who is running for governor, said in an interview released yesterday that he would like to see the state pay for universal health care for all illegal immigrants. Quote, "I did universal health care when I was a mayor, fully implemented, regardless of pre-existing condition, ability to pay, and regardless of immigration status," unquote. Newsom told Pod Save America, a local podcast.
I think all the illegal immigrants should line up in front of Gavin Newsom's house, and so they can ask him personally what he's going to do and how he's going to help them.
Laura, do you think
when
this
he
is
wins.
realistic?
Can they pay for my health insurance too?
Well, yeah, they would, right? You're part of it, right? So California's going crazy, right? No bail, health care for anybody who shows up, illegal or not.
Well, we must have a lot of money in California.
I mean, you can't create a magnet strong enough, right? They've just tried to put this thing in overdrive of how to bring people in that you can't afford. Unbelievable.
Former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa is joining the board of publicly traded cannabis company MedMan, marking his return to the business world following his horrific defeat in June's Democratic gubernatorial primary. MedMan, a Culver City company operating high-end cannabis shops in California, Nevada, and New York, has aggressive expansion plans. Villaraigosa adds political and governmental experience to a board made up of the branding, entertainment, and accounting executives. You know, what's the name of the John Travolta? He played the hitman in the movie about 20 years ago.
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. Remember when John Travolta was buying a bag of heroin from his dealer, and he said, "Do you want this? Do you want this? Or do you want the Madman?" He goes, "What do you use?" He goes, "I only use Madman." He says, "I'll take an eighth of Madman or whatever."
I remember that movie. I don't remember that scene. Sorry, I leave you out there like that.
No, it's not a problem. And then Travolta said, "Do you mind if I shoot up here?" He said, "My casa is su casa."
I remember it didn't go so well for the lady who ended up doing drugs with him in that movie.
And it didn't go so well for Travolta either, but I guess we can do a spoiler after 20 years.
Yeah,
it's okay.
You've seen the movie, hopefully by now. Pulp Fiction.
Bruce Willis just shot him dead, let me tell you. Robert,
you ruined it, boss. Oh, why'd you have to do it?
Wait, you've seen it before? You haven't seen it?
Okay, I've seen it. I'm
Yeah,
joking.
okay. It's 20 years old. Everybody's seen it. You've got the next news story.
Well, it's going to be a hard-hitting one. In August 20th, 2018, Governor Brown signed into law that surfing has become California's official state sport.
Yeah,
Cowabunga.
I can't believe it. I mean, we've got X amount of baseball teams, X amount of football teams, X amount of basketball teams, X amount of hockey teams, and surfing is the state's
I think he
number
did
one.
it so maybe people wouldn't pay attention to all the other bad decisions that they're coming out of in Sacramento.
I remember, what was it, James Watt, who came out like in the 80s and said, I don't like the Beach Boys, and then Nancy
He
Reagan
was
said,
the Interior Secretary, and he put his foot in his mouth a lot. Yeah, he said he didn't like the Beach Boys. He thought they
and
were
then Nancy
radical or
Reagan said, I love the Beach Boys, and then the Beach Boys came out and did a concert for, I
something.
think.
The July 4th show.
Yeah.
It was great.
Who's got the next news story, please?
Self-flying cars are not here. But last week in Tracy, California, a tech startup called Skyrise began testing a new emergency response service that it sees as a small step towards passenger aircraft that can fly on their own.
Laura, what's the industry like for self-driving cars, self-driving airplanes, just autonomous mechanics? Are you seeing any of that? Are you rehabbing people into that yet?
No, not at this point.
Yeah.
It's just not happening yet.
What are you going to do with all those Uber drivers when the cars become self-driving?
I have no idea.
You know, didn't Toyota just invested $500 million in Uber or vice versa or something like that? I heard
Uber
about that.
partnership. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know, there's a lot of rumors in the car industry that there's going to be some consolidation coming up, right? Just as far as the market goes, a lot of car companies.
Mergers and acquisitions in the auto industry.
Yeah, the old M&A. They're
Coming
always
right up.
Well, there's some rumors.
Pretty
maybe.
soon, none of the injured workers or no one will ever have an excuse not to get to their doctor appointment, not to
There
get
you
to
go. That's
not
right.
to get to their attorney's office. No
Can't
one will
wait.
have an excuse for anything. Just hop in the car and they'll take you there.
Well, with lawyers, you know, they'll adjust with the times. They'll come up with new excuses.
Well, you're going to get a compensable consequence when that self-driving car crashes into a wall, okay?
Well, maybe they should just fly.
Yeah, maybe
Exactly.
so. Laura, you've got the next news story, please.
Gun deaths worldwide total about 250,000 per year. The United States is among 6 countries that make up half of those fatalities, according to an editorial published by the Journal of American Medical Association.
You're up, Robert.
According to researchers and federal authorities, 9 out of 10 illegal pot farms raided in California this year contain traces of powerful and potentially lethal pesticides that are poisoning wildlife and could endanger water supplies.
Here's a story that I saw and just had to tell everybody. New cases of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis rose for the 4th consecutive year in 2017 to a record high of nearly 2.3 million, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That number surpasses the previous record set in 2016 by more than 200,000 cases.
The California Supreme Court has ruled that the workers' comp system shields utilization review physicians from tort liability. And Robert, what do you think? No duty there. That's what the Supreme Court found. What do you think?
For
about
UR?
For UR physicians, no duty to a patient.
Yeah, it's not their patient, right? They're more of a evaluator. I don't know. It's kind of a quasi position.
But what if they make the wrong decision?
Well, there you go, right? What's their obligations here?
Apparently nothing.
That's going to be a serious question, because if somebody dies because of a lack of treatment that reasonably falls below the standard,
the case in
right?
chief here did involve a patient who had his meds declined, okay? And we've all seen it, Steve, a million times, actually. You know, they're supposed to taper off, and the UR guy just goes, no, and says no more. So the guy had some untoward consequences. I don't remember what
But here's
type
the
of medication
question.
it was.
He's supposed to, did he have the ability to purchase it? It's not that the pharmacy or the doctor didn't write the script. He didn't write the prescription. He had this prescription. It's just that he couldn't get it filled. Well, you're supposed to, if there's a dispute and you really need this medication, go buy it. Okay, you should be getting it, and then send that bill to your lawyer, and he'll go to court and he'll get it for you. Don't not take your pills.
But how many injured workers out there could afford to go out there
Well,
and
that's
buy the
true.
cargo or the
Couldn't.
I
oxycodone
know.
Probably
and
couldn't.
wait up to about 2 years to get paid by the insurance company. for
Well,
that
it's not going to be 2
medication.
years if you're calling my office, but
Oh.
that's just how it is. Okay.
Okay.
But
Like it.
Taking another spin, and Laura, we've spoke about this off mic. When you take into consideration the potential of someone getting a job, you also consider how often an injured worker is medicated. How does this play into someone getting a job if they're constantly on medications?
Well, one of the ways it plays into is the fact if they're having to take a drug test. That's one of the main things.
Well, the thing is with the opiates, it's supposed to be a tapered dosing down, and what we see is the UR guy saying no and not recommending the dosing down, and that seems to be cutting them loose.
Well, if I was the PTP, I would just issue an RFA saying throw them into a detox center.
Medication affects everything. It affects your ability to stay awake. It affects your ability to concentrate.
But I'm talking about
to stay on
opium
task.
addicts, we see a fair amount of them. Okay, I mean they should. You're right, Steve. The PTP should issue a request for authority for a detox.
also,
Yeah.
It's so rare that they do that. You know that?
You're going to end up with we're going to end up with an injured worker that's going through sort of the withdrawal and going to some board and shoot people up.
But we've never even seen such an RFA. Have you, Robert?
God forbid. But there's the IMR here too, right? We can't forget
Well,
that
that's
there
totally anonymous, but go ahead.
I know, but there are procedural steps that you must take here. Firstly, you could buy the pills on your own, request reimbursement. Second, when the UR gets denied, you have the right for IMR. Hopefully, a more reasonable doctor will, overturn that denial. Also, before that even gets there, they're supposed to have like a peer-to-peer phone call, right? Sometimes that will resolve it.
How come I always see the UR doc, they call and leave 2 messages for the PTP who never returns
Because
the
the
call?
PTP doesn't want to talk to him, because essentially they view it as being trying to talk out of the treatment that he recommends, and that's why they do not
Plus, it's
respond.
and it's not a real phone call. It's not a real conversation. You talk at each other. There's no point to it. It's unfortunate because a lot of times you'll get doctors who, like you guys say, are not invested in the client's well-being, denying treatment based on some sort of MTUS schedule that they can find, perhaps.
ACOM.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially.
The saddest thing about this is the injured worker that's affected by all of this.
I agree, and I could never advise an injured worker to take money out of their pocket to pay for medications.
If they're going to die,
relieve.
you better. You got no other choice, right?
Well, he could always go to the emergency room.
I tell them that too. Go to the emergency room.
Exactly.
Send me the
Right.
bill, right? They'll file a lien. But you got no choice when it comes to your health. That's the issue. And we're talking about a lawsuit and duty and where it attaches to somebody's actions. I don't see how you can sue UR. You can, the liability here lies with the state of California. All right, for putting in place procedures that don't protect injured workers adequately, and that have been eroded by insurance company lobbyists. So this is what you get. It's what you voted for, and now you got to live with it. I don't know what else to say.
I think once you've said that, it's all been said. My name is Steve Appel. You're listening to WorkCom Matters. We're brought to you by A1 Law, Santa Monica Tickets, and, of course, ABC Rugs. We're going to take another quick musical break, and we'll be back with the closing segment of Work Comp Matters.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Should've known it'd come to this. Sure would like to travel to that crazy place behind your eye. Let it all unravel. touch my soul like the sun sinking in the sea. Oh, I got my sweet surrender. You can do no wrong with me. Holding on forever. You got to talk to me, baby, in your secret melody. Oh, send it home to me. You got to bring it on home to me, darling. Singing out like Sunday on a Memphis radio. Oh, yeah. You got some restlessness like fire in your veins, baby. You got my soul. You got a solution nationwide. Keep my music safe inside. Turn it into gold. Turn it into gold. Memphis radio. Oh, you better look out now. Baby, send it home to me. You got to bring it on home to me. While you're singing out like Sunday on a Memphis radio. Singing like Mavis. You let it out like muddy on a Memphis radio. Yeah.
The sweet, soft folk rock sounds of Susan Scheller on WorkComp Matters were brought to you by A1 Law, Santa Monica Tickets, and of course ABC Rugs. With us, Mike, Robert, and of course Laura. I interviewed Laura a month ago. Her show has 99 hits on YouTube. It's over 100 with everything. And this is the first time she's been at the round table. I sure hope you're going to come back to the round table because it's such a nice contrast to Ted. You know, I'm not going to say better or worse. I think it's a good contrast.
This is the second time she's been at the round table, for the record.
Yeah, she was at the first time for the interview.
I would love to come back to the round table anytime I'm invited.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you so much. Who's got the next news story?
St. John's Regional Medical Center in Oxnard recently performed its first transcatheter aortic valve replacement and its 1,000th robotic-assisted surgery. Good for them.
Absolutely. Hear, hear. Federal officials have warned that any city setting up a safe injection site for opioid users will be met with swift and aggressive action and criminal prosecutions. On Monday, the California legislature passed a bill approving a San Francisco plan to operate such sites.
Unbelievable, huh?
In my mind, it's disgusting. We've spoken many times before on WorkComp Matters about the homeless, about the feces, about the needles all in public, and now they passed it where it's okay to go ahead and shoot up, presumably in public. I think it's absolutely disgusting.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what people are thinking that are approving these things. I'm just wondering what goes on as far as the debate. How one-sided is it? It must be some sort of echo chamber where
Well,
you
the
have
San
one
Francisco
person.
Board of Supervisors is the most left body on the face of the earth, at least in the United States.
You know,
How unsanitary, how unsafe.
I think we have to go in the direction of some type of care center or hospital or hospice for intravenous drug users. I mean, you're shooting up heroin, you're slowly killing yourself. But we've spoken about this before. We've got to get it off the streets. We've got to get it off the sidewalks. And if it takes part of my tax dollars or more of my tax dollars to develop some type of specialized care center to deal with it, the first thing we need to do is we get it off the streets. Because if we can't get it off the streets, it's just going to get worse. And it's been getting worse.
Well, I don't even, we used to live in San Francisco for, 7.5 years or so. And I wouldn't even want to go back there facing some of this
Gavin
stuff.
Newsom's running for governor here. It's a scary situation facing California. I don't even know anything about the Republican alternative, to be honest with you.
Is there a Republican alternative?
I hear there is. It sounds like I would vote for anything but this. Right?
I don't even know if it's a Republican,
I don't even know who it
liberal,
is.
conservative issue.
I heard they voted a dog mayor in Maine. I say we go for it. Okay.
To me, it is a severe health issue. It is a severe health problem.
That dog is doing better. That's what I'm saying.
It's a civil liberties issue for the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. Civil liberties.
That is the way they look at it.
Yes.
You do
Whose
not
civil liberties?
You do not.
The addicts.
That's the question. Whose civil liberties?
You
are they
do not
looking at?
have the
Addicts.
right to be a
That's what they think.
vagrant. You do not have the right to lay your feces and needles already used on the street. There
Well,
is
they
no
give
right
you
to-
replacement needle
disgusting.
there too. You know that, right?
An exchange needle program is one thing, but having it in public and doing your drugs in... Look, I can't even drink a beer in public, and they're setting up places where these people can shoot heroin into their arms in public. Where is the... Look at the hypocrisy.
San Francisco is a beautiful place, really. I mean, on a clear
Well,
day,
if this
which is...
continues, it's not going to
Well,
be very
I was going to
beautiful.
say, on a clear day, which is actually pretty rare, it's one of the most beautiful places
Well, they
on
moved
Earth.
that medical conference out of there, right? The medical
They
association.
didn't
AMA?
move it. They chose not to come. Yeah.
Yeah, they
The
moved it
AMA?
out. Yeah,
Why? What was the reason?
for that reason.
For that reason.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah,
well, let's have
huge
some
med-
economic impact on it.
Well,
That's great.
Yeah, you know what? They can deny reality all they like, but hopefully the consequences will eventually, catch up with them, and you can't deny that, right?
It's going
They'll
to
deny it.
bite them in the wallet one way or the other if it hasn't started to already. And the example you just gave is one good example.
That's interesting.
The other example is going to be tourists. Tourists are going to stop going.
Like
'cause of
me.
that.
I don't want to go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't want to go to San Francisco, and I love the Bay Area. I think it's a gorgeous town, and I have colleagues. Anne lives in the Bay Area per se, not in the city, I don't think. And the public transportation, the Golden Gate Bridge, the
it's an
sights,
amazing
Food.
the
It can
food.
be.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Now, I got a question for you. Why do you think California is acting out this way? You think it's in reaction to Trump and the right-wing stuff going on across the nation? Because Trump is saying build a wall. Here we're saying, you know what, bring illegals in and free health care. It's kind of like, I'm not sure that that's the right remedy. If someone's being polar opposite, for you to take such a polar position as well.
We spend more of our tax dollars on the homeless and on illegal aliens than clearly any other state, if not a combination of a few states. We also have the weather. I mean, if you're homeless, you want to spend your winters in New York or you want to come out to California. And it's just the amount of money and the amount of political pressure enabling the homeless and the drug addicts to continue doing what they're doing just blows my mind. I can't believe it.
It is such a health hazard. It's horrible, disgusting.
Well, they're absolutely enabling up in San Francisco.
Exactly.
And
They're
it's
enabling
remarkable
drug
to observe.
users.
It's remarkable to observe.
But where's the political fallout? Usually, like for a football team, right? You have a couple bad seasons, you got to get rid of the coach.
Their constituency thinks it's great.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
If you're posting a losing record every season, you gotta yank the coach and you gotta go a new direction.
They think
right?
they're winning.
See, that's where we're going crazy. Everyone's looking at the scoreboard thinking it's a blowout, but you're punch drunk.
They're thinking losses or wins.
So you can't negotiate these people. You know what? Put them in the room with Kim Jong-un. They'll get along.
Oh, my goodness. And can't think of a better way to end the show with that. What a fantastic hour it's been. Got to thank Ann Bobchek and Lou Shapiro for giving us a call and coming in and giving their takes. Additionally, for the roundtable, my right-hand man, the chief of staff, keeping me in check and hopefully out of trouble at least 90% of the time, Dr. Michael Zyma. For my protege, yes, I discovered him, attorney Robert Ozeron. Her first time at the roundtable, second time at Uncle's studio, vocational rehabilitation extraordinaire and expert Laura Wilson. Of Uncle's studio, Scott Walton, engineer, working out the technical difficulties. And of course, we could not continue to do this valuable project without all the good people back at WorkComp Central who continually support and help us along, including, but not limited to, Mr. Leaf File and Jake Paris. My name is Steve Appel. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Work Comp Matters.